Hey everyone, so in the last year or so since my last Dragonborn build, my YouTube channel's drifted away from its Skyrim roots, in particular my infamous Skyrim character builds hosted on the Skyrim blog's character building group. Even 3 years after Skyrim's release, the group is still very much alive and kicking, and recently hosts Albino and Noodles posted a new character building event based around adapting a character from another fantasy universe, or indeed real life, into Skyrim's setting. I'll include a link in the description. Recently, I've been having a lot of fun with Dragon Age Inquisition, and was inspired to enter the event, adapting the Elder One, the main villain from the game. Now you might be wondering why I'm telling you all this. I often get questions about my creative process when making a new build, so I thought I'd do a video series covering just that. So I guess this is sort of like a part tutorial, part let's play, and I'll cover the write-up at the end too. I suppose if you want to hear about the build before it's finished, this would be the place to look. Now before we begin, just a heads up that given the nature of the character I'm basing the build on, this series will contain some spoilers for Inquisition, but I'll be sure to keep plot details to a minimum. So with all that out of the way, welcome to the first episode of Let's Build. In this episode, I'll cover some of the planning I do before I actually start playing. So first, let's take a look at what we're basing this build off. Like I mentioned before, the Elder One from Dragon Age Inquisition. He's a powerful magister from the Tevinter Imperium, a nation ruled by mages long past its glory days, and he worshipped the old gods who took the form of dragons. He physically entered the Fade along with a group of other magisters, which is the spirit world in the Dragon Age universe, and he entered the Golden City, the seat of the Maker, and found it empty. He corrupted the Golden City into the Black City, and became one of the first Darkspawn, a blighted evil creature. Upon his return to the real world, he was imprisoned for 1,000 years, and seeks to return to the Black City and become a god, returning with the power to rule over the whole world. As for his abilities and possessions, he's a powerful mage, so he doesn't use any weapons. He possesses an ancient orb which can be used to channel powerful magic. He's got red crystals and metal plates grafted into his flesh, and his combat abilities allow him to teleport short distances, as well as having both close and long-ranged attacks based around the corrupted red crystals. He also has a pet dragon and commands an army of demons. Now what elements in terms of both gameplay and roleplay can we adapt to our character in the Elder Scrolls universe? Well, there's a bit of an analogue between the Tevinter Magisters and the Dragon Priests, since the old gods did take the form of dragons, so perhaps we could roleplay as a Dragon Priest. So I'll be a pure mage with a focus on conjuration, perhaps to emulate that whole demon army sort of thing. And maybe I've travelled the planes of the Daedra as well as Aetherius, and done things like claimed Dragon Soul, which is why I'm Dragonborn, or been corrupted into a vampire, because this can play nicely into the Vampire Lord form, which gives me access to some powerful melee abilities without wasting perks. And it also lets me use the vampire version of the Blood Drain spell as an offensive ability in human form, using the Bound Sword glitch, which I'll cover in a future episode. As for the imprisonment, perhaps I was imprisoned by the Tribunal in the Ministry of Truth, the floating rock above the city of Vivec, until it was destroyed in the early 4th era. Maybe I'd seek to denounce the so-called divines and those that oppose me and claim dominion over all Tamriel, and achieve this by finding sources of power, probably primarily Daedric artifacts or things like black books from the Dragonborn DLC. I'll use some shouts like Whirlwind Sprint to emulate the teleport ability, become ethereal and call dragon, so I've got a pet dragon of my own, and maybe the magical orb could be replaced by the sigil stone you get from completing the Conjuration Master quest, and I'll see what I can whip up with the Atronach Forge. So we've got a solid starting point here, but let's fill in some of the gaps. For my armor, I think I'll check out the Hardened Falmer set from the Dawnguard DLC, Daedric, which maybe I could create with the Atronach Forge, and the Ancient Nord set, or maybe even the Azadal set from the Dragonborn DLC. And I'll wear that along with some Dragon Priest masks. I'm thinking maybe I'll take a look at the one that boosts your Conjuration, Alteration, and Illusion spell costs, as well as the one from the end of the main quest that reduces your Destruction and Restoration spell costs, as well as increasing your maximum magicka. For my jewelry, I think I'll just wear some pretty standard mage stuff, maybe like the amulet from the Mages Guild, or rather College of Winterhold questline that increases your maximum magicka, and maybe some of the Vampire Lord buff gear, like the one that increases your health and unarmed damage, or your maximum magicka and magicka regeneration. As for my other skills, I think I'll check out heavy armor, illusion, alteration, as well as a bit of restoration and enchanting. Now, before I begin playing, there's usually two more things I do. I'll go on a site like Skyrim Calculator and whip up a quick perk spread to see how my current skill selection will work out in the long run. If I've got too many perks, perhaps I need to cut down on some specializations or drop a skill entirely. But if I've got too few perks, perhaps I could think about adding another skill entirely. So here's a quick slideshow of the perks that I've picked up. And then I take a quick look at some things I could look into while I'm playing the build. I think I'll have a look at using some rally spells to buff up my summoned Daedra once I've got the Master of the Mind perk in Illusion. And I'll look at various methods of commanding additional unbound Daedra, such as Bend Will, some spells, or even getting a follower to maybe use a Command Daedra staff or something like that. Anyway, thanks for checking out the first episode, and I'll be back with some actual gameplay once I start playing the build.